and free these people!
This is Sparta!
You shall not pass!
Real Chat Podcast presents the 100 Greatest Movies. Movie number 82, Some Like It Hot. Everybody, welcome to episode 83 of the Real Chat Podcast, a podcast that promises cinephiles, whether here or abroad, the real world as we know it. As Marilyn Monroe walks by, hips sashing in a rhythmic va-va-voom, Jack Lemmon's character in Some Like It Hot turns to co-star Tony Curtis in admiring disbelief. Look how she moves, like Jell-O on springs. She must have some sort of built-in motor or something. I tell you, it's a whole different sex. Sex is right. Some Like It Hot is all about it. And although no one actually does the deed on screen, the movie is rife with both verbal and visual innuendo. And then, of course, there's the central conceit. Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis spend most of the film in drag. Lipstick, high heels, dresses and all. This was, if you'll pardon the pun, ballsy stuff for the time. And Some Like It Hot, released without MPAA certification, presented a direct challenge to the soon-to-be-out modelled Hays Code, which had rigidly controlled what couldn't be shown or mentioned in Hollywood productions since the 1930s. But there's more to the film than light blue humour and lingering views of Monroe's celebrated TNA. Some Like It Hot deserves to be listed alongside writer-director Billy Wilder's other masterpieces, and it's widely regarded for good reason as one of the great American comedies in cinema history. My name is Adam Stolfo, and I'm joined here by our good mate, Mr. Andrew McCaskill. Andrew, how's it going, my friend?
Well, thank you. Well, it's
Good, mate.
yeah, nice and refreshing to look at a film that's a little bit older than most of the films we've covered
The
so
only
far.
other film that we've looked at this age, Andrew, is North by Northwest,
Yeah,
which
a
was
long time
episode
ago.
10 of Real Chat a long time back. So,
Yes. Yeah, just and you know, just refreshing kind of filmmaking style and tone as well to what we're used to.
are you a fan of Hollywood in this era? Just quickly.
Oh yeah, I love old films. It's escapism. It's pure escapism. You just go back to a different time and different way of communicating, and I guess when filmmaking was still finding its feet as well, there's kind of a freshness to it, and you know, a dated charm as well in some regards. So yeah, love it.
Returning as well, Real Chat's own Marilyn Monroe, Miss Penny Jelly. Penny, how's it going?
Zowie. Thank you very much. What an intro.
How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
What is it? Jello on springs? Oh yeah, penny jelly. That makes sense.
Oh,
thank
perfect.
you. I'll take it.
Absolutely perfect. I can't believe I missed that one.
Oh well, I'm always looking out for it.
That's it. But what about yourself, Penny? A fan of this era?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice to sort of get back into this sort of black and white screwball comedy era. Yeah.
I think you were one of the only members of Real Chat. I think our guest Damon might have seen it as well, but you had actually seen this film before today.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
absolutely. So this
yeah.
and The Apartment for me are Billy Wilder at his best.
Yeah. Good stuff. No, good to have you on board, Penny. And joining us as well, as I said, special guest, Mr. Damon Qua. Damon, how's it going?
Good. Pleasure to be back again.
No worries at all, mate. What about yourself? Are you a fan of Hollywood in the 1950s here?
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely. I like the classic, inverted commas, classic movies. And that's my bread and butter in some of the younger years. When
It
I
is.
was...
How much of your personal DVD collection from back in the day, Damon, would be films from this era? Quite a substantial amount.
Substantial, but...
More than the rest of us.
yeah, more than the rest of you probably.
Yeah.
More, depending on looking at around the table, I've got some cinephiles. So
Yes.
But yeah, back then I was buying whatever I could when DVDs were new. So it was whatever was coming out, and if they were, golden oldies or promised to be, I was buying them and then watching them for the first time post-purchase. So I was pretty keen on this classic era.
Good stuff. But good to have you on board, Damon. Just quickly as well, guys, I'm just reminding everybody to please rate and review us on iTunes, please. As I said, it seems that from the amount of listeners that we have compared to the number of reviews we have on iTunes, doesn't really line up. And I know that people listen to podcasts through different ways, but yeah, if you do listen through iTunes or the podcast app, guys, please give us a review. I'm a little bit nervous about this one, guys. The main reason being is that this is the oldest film that we've looked at here on Real Chat for a long time. And unfortunately, Andrew, North by Northwest, the only other film from this era that we've looked at, was never one of the highest rating Real Chat episodes. So I'm a little bit nervous about, whether or not people are a little bit turned off by listening to people retrospectively review films from this era, but we'll be doing our best.
That's why I think it's great, because it's just it gives an opportunity for people who haven't seen it to perhaps watch something they might never have seen. So
Yeah.
it's good to kind of cover all kind of periods and genres.
Yeah, and we are doing each and every one of these films in the top 100, so we can't really stray from the list.
That's right.
So we forge on. So this episode is part of our 100 Greatest Movies series based on Empire Magazine's 2017 article of the same name. So when two struggling Chicago musicians, bass violinist Jerry, played by Jack Lemmon, and saxophone player Joe, played by Tony Curtis, accidentally witness the 1929 St. Valentine's Day massacre, they flee the state disguised as women in an all-female band on its way to Florida. So now posing as Daphne and Josephine, they attempt to stay one step ahead of gangster Spats Colombo, and his mob wife, Josephine, attempts to woo curvy blonde ukulele player Sugar Cane, played by Marilyn Monroe. And Daphne finds himself the object of affection to millionaire Osgood Fielding III, played by Joey Brown. So this film is particularly notable for featuring cross-dressing and for playing with the idea of homosexuality, which led to its being produced without approval from the Motion Picture Production Code. The code has been gradually weakening in its scope during the early 1950s due to increasing social tolerance for previously taboo topics in film, but it was still officially enforced. So the overwhelming success of Some Like It Hot is considered one of the final nails in the coffin for the Hays Code. So, well, I'll ask you, do you guys actually know what the Hays Code is? Have you heard of it before?
Yeah,
Penny,
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. Damon?
Not fully familiar with it. I've heard of it.
Andrew?
No, I don't know what it entails.
Okay, just quickly. The Motion Picture Production Code was the set of industrial moral guidelines that was applied to most United States motion pictures released by major studios from 1930 to 1968. It is also popularly known as the Hays Code after Will H. Hays, who was the president of the Motion Picture Producers and Distributions of America from 1922 to 1945. Under Hays's leadership, the MPPDA, later known as the Motion Picture Association of America, or the MPAA, adopted the production code in 1930 and began rigidly enforcing it in mid-1934. The production code spelled out what was acceptable and what was unacceptable content for motion pictures produced for a public audience in the United States. So from 1934 to 1954, the code was closely identified with Joseph Breen, the administrator appointed by Hays to enforce the code in Hollywood, and the film industry followed the guidelines set by the code well into the 1950s. But during this time, the code began to weaken due to the combined impact of television, influence from foreign films, controversial directors pushing boundaries, and intervention from the courts, including the Supreme Court. And in 1968, after several years of minimal enforcement, the production code was replaced by the MPAA film rating system. So there's a little bit of a history lesson there to start the episode, guys. But so this film, just fits into this era, just perfectly.
Yeah, and to give an example of that, you couldn't shoot a man and a woman in the bed at the same time without one of them having their feet on the ground.
Yes. Do you remember when we looked at Bond? The very first Bond film, Andrew, we actually spoke about this a little bit. Dr. No, that was a big deal. We could not see Bond in bed with a woman back in the early days of Bond.
Lots changed since.
Without was it one foot on the ground?
1 foot on the ground.
Yeah.
Which, it sort of presents its own sort of boundaries anyway. It's going to subvert. But yeah, it's just stuff like that. And lots, religious stuff as well as, children on screen. But yeah, I'm really glad that we've pushed past that because it sort of takes an unnatural view of putting real life on the screen.
Indeed, it definitely does. So yeah, Some Like It Hot. What are some of your initial thoughts? Penny, I'll start it over here with you, good self. I assumed you were a fan based on when you had a look at the top 100 list previously. And you said, Some Like It Hot. I love that film.
Yeah, it's a great film. I remember seeing this as a kid. My parents would have shown this to me or taken me to go and see this film. So yeah, it's a foray into that real screwball comedy of the time and the fact that it was filmed in black and white, even though the colour was available, and we can go into that later. But just such a enjoyable, fast-paced, funny. It subverts so many bits and pieces that are around at the time and even around now. And I think even watching it, I felt like I was watching something different. I felt like I was watching sort of something on the precipice of, this is weird. I haven't seen men dressed up as women or men understanding how women are treated. So I'm really into that part of the historical aspect of the film. But as a film itself, it's just so enjoyable.
Oh yeah, definitely. And not having seen it before as well, I just really took myself into the era in which this was made and said, right. My God, this must have been popular at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 hours long as well, which surprised me as well. It's not short by any means. So, but and what about yourself, Andrew? What are some of your initial thoughts on this one? Yeah,
it's so many layers to it. There's so much of interest besides being just a very funny comedy. So well written. 1959, very interesting time for film, for the reasons you just mentioned with the Hays Code. I mean, just things going out of fashion. You know, the old school was being kind of chipped away at, and, you know, a new generation coming through. And, you know, 59, 60, like Psycho was just around the corner. I mean, just groundbreaking films that kind of, you know, set tone for the future of cinema.
Yeah, another film that chose black and white over colour.
Yeah. I don't know what the reason is, but in terms of just it's a daring film. This one, it brings themes that haven't been explored before in Hollywood, and, you know, it sells it in a really kind of fun, bouncy package, and no pun intended. But it's watching. I was just thinking, when was this made? Because it's so, for a black and white film, you expect it to have a certain kind of gravitas, and you know, it's very responsible. But this film really plays with some, you know, kind of colourful things.
It does, yeah, absolutely. And what about yourself, Dames? Some of your initial thoughts on this one?
Look, I think I don't want to sound condescending, but it's a cute little comedy. But I'm not fully swayed with this film.
Okay. Yep.
It's a bit ridiculous. It's over the top. It's purely fun, and I get that. And I think it deserves all its kudos for its groundbreaking nature of dealing with cross-dressing and sort of putting that on the screen when it's so controversial. But if we take that out of the equation, for me, it's a nice, cute movie. But when we're looking at the top 100, I'm got more questions than answers on it.
All right. But is this the Damon of 2018 talking as well? I mean, Damon brought in his DVD copy of Some Like It Hot. I mean, were you just like buying everything back in the day, Damon?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to put context on this, when DVDs came out, that was an explosion of movies hitting the shelves that you could go in and buy. So Some Like It Hot was renowned. So I'm like, great, Marilyn Monroe. I remember buying it. I've watched it once or twice. I remember at the time not really gelling with me. Going, why don't I love this as much as everyone else? It's a classic. I'm meant to love this movie. And it's been gathering dust since. So and then I've dusted off and watched it again for this podcast.
So we gave you an excuse to dust it off.
And so I've now really analysed it, you know, deeply, and I've sort of landed in the same place.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to be swayed. I don't want to be a downer through this podcast.
Do you feel any differently than maybe you did when you originally saw it? So I assume this DVD the first time you ever saw the movie?
Definitely. So this DVD's 01, so I probably would have bought this in like 2003 or something like that. Yeah. Right.
But has your opinion changed?
Probably not too much. If anything, maybe I was a little bit harsher this time because I was analysing it to come onto Real Chat. So I was sort of I was trying to justify to myself, well, if I'm not really sold on this being amazing, what aspects of it are calling me to downgrade it? So yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it.
So Some Like It Hot was released between the 19th of March and the 8th of April, 1959. Different times.
Slow release.
Yeah, 19th of March - 8th of April, 1959 in various parts of the US. So depending on where you were in the US, it opened on a different date during those couple of weeks.
Texas, probably not at all. But...
Probably not at all. If it opened in Australia, there's no record of when, which is another sign of the times, because during this time, the release date in Australia, like I remember I couldn't find it for North by Northwest, for example. So the records of this stuff, maybe they weren't kept. I don't know. It was shot primarily in Coronado, San Diego, and also the Lot Studios in West Hollywood, and also the MGM Studios, which are all in California. Many scenes were shot at the Hotel del Coronado in San Diego, which appeared as the Seminole Ritz Hotel in Miami in the film. The budget was an estimated $2.9 million, which sounds like a lot for 1959, and it grossed $40 million worldwide, so it was certainly a success. The director of the film, guys, is Billy Wilder. So Samuel Billy Wilder, which I found interesting, was an American filmmaker, screenwriter, producer, artist, and journalist whose career spanned more than 5 decades. He is regarded as one of the most brilliant and versatile filmmakers of Hollywood's golden age. And with The Apartment, Wilder became the first person to win Academy Awards as producer, director, and screenwriter for the film. Wilder became a screenwriter in the late 1920s while living in Berlin. After the rise of the Nazi Party, he left for Paris, where he made his directorial debut. He moved to Hollywood in 1933, and in 1939, he had a hit when he co-wrote the screenplay for the romantic comedy Ninotchka, starring Greta Garbo. Wilder established his directorial reputation with an adaptation of James M. Cain's Double Indemnity in 1944, which was a film noir. Wilder earned the Best Director and Best Screenplay Academy Awards for the adaptation of a Charles R. Jackson story, The Lost Weekend, in 1945. And in 1950, Wilder co-wrote and directed the critically acclaimed Sunset Boulevard, as well as Stalag 17 in 1953. From the mid-1950s on, Wilder made mostly comedies. Among the classics Wilder created in this period are the farces The 7-Year Itch in 1955 and Some Like It Hot, this film in 1959, and satires such as The Apartment in 1960. He directed 14 different actors in Oscar-nominated performances. Wilder was recognised with the American Film Institute Life Achievement Award in 1986, and in 1993 he was awarded the National Medal of Arts. So quite the accomplished director here, guys. So would you call yourself fans of Billy Wilder's work? I'll start over here with you, Penny.
So, yeah, I mentioned at the top that The Apartment and Some Like It Hot are, I think, two of his best comedy works. And I hate to say, but I actually haven't seen a lot of his other works. And that's just because I've never sort of really got around to it. It sounds really awful, but I know the gravitas that's behind Sunset Boulevard, for example, but I've thought I just really want to give this film the time, and perhaps when it comes up at the Astro or something, I can go and see it. So it just hasn't come across my lens at the moment, but I know that Billy Wilder has had a really huge impact in the film industry, the Hollywood film industry.
Definitely. What about yourself, Andrew?
Similar boat. I've seen a couple of his films, and I've heard how amazing he is, and so many writers just put him up on a pedestal as
one of the greats.
Yeah, one of their inspirations into getting into writing. And you just look at the body of work you just listed, it's staggering, And like Sunset Boulevard, I didn't actually link that he made that film as well, and that's it's a noirish kind of black comedy in a way, or drama almost. So yeah, he just does different genres so well, and that'd be anyone else's masterpiece, that film, but he's done so many others as well. So yeah, I'm the same as Penny. I need to kind of really catch up and see his great works.
So you've only seen a handful yourself.
Yeah.
So based on seeing this film for the first time, you would happily track down some more of his stuff as well.
Oh yeah, look forward to it. Yeah, there's a lot to see.
Yeah, good stuff. And what about yourself, Damon? What do you know about Mr. Billy Wilder and his work?
Yeah, well, I think it's really important to emphasize that he's the writer and director for these films. Really impressive. I've seen a fair few of them. So I've seen Double Indemnity, I've seen Sabrina, 7-Year Itch, The Apartment, and obviously Some Like It Hot. And he's got some really good works. He's got some complication in his storylines in those films, or they're just really clever. Yep. He's got some good comedy. 7-Year Itch is, outrageously sort of silly, but laugh out loud hilarious. And it's dated, but it's dated well because you're laughing at how dated it is when you watch it as well. And it's got, the iconic Marilyn Monroe, standing over the subway vent and all these type of aspects to it. But it's quite nice. The Apartment probably is one of the standouts. And I'm really happy that he followed this movie up 12 months later with The Apartment, because I just think it's far superior and it's such a witty film.
Yeah. So would you have put The Apartment into the top 100 ahead of this film is one of the big questions as well.
I would, to be honest, I'd happily substitute definitely The Apartment, but one or two of his other works, like if we're going like for like, I would take Some Like It Hot out and put in The Apartment. Okay. Or such. Definitely.
Nice one. Okay. Yeah. And sounds like you would classify yourself as a Wilder fan then.
Well, I suppose so. After looking at that list and looking at his filmography, Sunset Boulevard is one that I haven't seen, and it's acclaimed, and it's probably the last acclaimed one on the list that I haven't seen. So it's now on my list.
Yeah, good stuff.
Definitely.
Penny, the writers of the film, Damon made mention of it there, but Billy Wilder obviously wrote the screenplay along with I.A.L. Diamond.
Yes.
And it was obviously suggested by a story by Robert Theron and Michael Logan.
Yeah, there was a 1935 film called Fanfare of Love.
Yes.
Which was the original work, and that was just about...
Was that German film?
No, that came later, called Fanfares of Love in 1951, or Fanfaren de Liebe. So Fanfare of Love came out in 1935, and that was just about two out-of-work musicians that can't get jobs, so dress up in drag, essentially. So Wilder and Diamond decided they wanted to write this as a screenplay, couldn't actually find the actual screenplay, so they found the screenplay for Fanfares of Love, the German screenplay, and then which was an adaptation of the original work, and then basically adapted that, but took that story and then I guess put in the more interesting reason why they decide to go to dress up in drag, which is because they're running from the mob. And which is based on the actual Valentine's Day massacre as well, which is based in reality and prohibition at the time. I think it's a really well considered adaptation, if you will, because it's really sort of feeding in many more threads to make the film a lot more interesting than just two guys dress up to get work, which is ironically the screenplay for Tootsie. But anyway.
It is too.
It's possibly more clever to have the Prohibition era because they're dancing with convention. They've now put them in the 1929 timeline rather than 1959. Maybe it's more acceptable to get away with that and get that past the censors. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, throwing back and then subverting that
so
kind
you can
of
sort of claim, it's fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so these guys work together a lot. Diamond and Wilder work together a lot, I think, on 11 other screenplays. So they definitely know their stuff. And yeah, I love the fact that Wilder is a producer, director, screenwriter. Like he knows all aspects of the films and can definitely bring that to life. And for me, this is just a very well written screenplay. I think there's a few little bit of slightly more dull or dead moments that they have to have in there, but I probably would have fastened up the pace a little bit. That's pretty much to do with the mobster scene at the end, which is, hilarious and funny, but you lose the central characters there and you sort of feel like you're watching another film almost.
That's very true, actually. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that, but you're right.
Yeah, but in terms of the script, I think it's even though it's 2 hours, I think it's fairly well fast paced. The dialogue is exceptional. And for me, it's that real sort of punning kind of dialogue. They, refresh my memory. Oh, it's this guy. Oh, that's refreshing. Like it's just that kind of hard-boiled kind of dialogue of that screwball comedy time as well. And as soon as you buy into that, you're along for the ride. There's no sort of extra fat in this film apart from those slight moments of dead air, but it just the characters go from one point to another point to another point to another point, and you're with them the entire journey. There's a reason for everything being in the film.
Yeah, I mean, the screenplay is quite exceptional. Like, as in, it feels like a film of its era, and the screenplay reflects that perfectly. I wouldn't say it's without its faults, though. Damon's looking at me like he agrees, but but I understand about what you're saying, Penny. Yeah, definitely.
And it just it goes from the dark, dank, cold to the sunny Florida shores, and it's I really like that. I like it when you start a film in one place and you end up in another. So it's especially so early on in the film as well, in the inciting moments.
Damon, you have the floor now, mate. You're bursting at the seams over here.
I'm not bursting.
You've got the floor.
I want to very carefully choose my words here. First of all, I do have to agree with aspects of that.
Yep.
It's very witty script writing and some snappy dialogue, and I particularly love that scene where Toothpick Charlie says something along the lines of, I got to get out of here, or it's goodbye, Charlie. And the policeman says, goodbye, Charlie.
Yeah.
And there's interesting little, quips and gags through the film. My problem is probably more holistically for the film. I found that the structure of the entire film, obviously you've got your 3 acts. Act 1 is the setup with the mobsters and driving the story, which was cleverly designed to give purpose to these characters. Why are they in drag? Why is it they can't just abandon drag? And that's a really clever technique that they're in hiding. Therefore, they must stay in this, inverted commas for the time, unnatural state. And then you've got your 3rd act, which is supposedly your resolution, which you have that big scene with the mobsters, which, spoiler, is my favourite because it's so over the top and it's such great satire and it's so comical. And I guess that's the juvenile in me as well because it's quite, I suppose, boyish as well, just, over the top. For me, the guts of the film, which is what the whole film is about, fell a bit flat, which is the whole journey of them cross-dressed, meeting Marilyn, being part of the band, ducking and weaving, romancing her, entwined with the millionaire that's pursuing Jack Lemmon. For me, all of that was, I didn't feel it pacey enough, and I didn't feel that it resolved itself or tied itself off or anything. I found that I was really enjoying the start and that all these possibilities were open and now they're on the run. Oh, this is going to be exciting. And then I felt the movie fell flat. And then in the 3rd act, it didn't even really resolve itself and they're still on the run.
Yeah, it's one of the criticisms that I read about as well was the fact that like the point of it, like what we're getting to at the end, it's not satisfying. Now, I don't know if you would agree with that, Penny. Maybe, you got that a little bit more, but I agree with Damon in regards to the fact of like, there's something missing, but is that just the era as well? Like, is it just a reflection of the movies that were made then in comparison to how we would make a similar story now?
Yeah, I do agree. Like they get in the boat at the end and, they're not out of the woods yet. There's still a lot more to go. Maybe there's a sequel coming up, but, Some like it slightly hotter. But I think that is a reflection of the films at the time. You'd sort of go on this massive adventure and then like the end would just be sort of left up in the air. And the end of this film is notoriously like a placeholder line that's kept in there. And I love that, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yes, we will.
Okay. But
Just like make sure you talk about it.
Yeah.
but in terms of where we're going and how we get there, I'm entirely on board. And for me, it's not so much about them getting away from the mob. It's actually them sort of changing as human beings. And in terms of them actually cross-dressing, and it's very like it's hard to sort of sit in a room full of guys to sort of say women are still treated like that. Women are still treated by the male gaze about the pursuit of women at all costs, and pinching in the elevator. That stuff, it still happens. And so it's actually really interesting to see these guys that are doing that to women, Tony Curtis's character especially, to be in the opposite role and to kind of go, oh, but that's just what men are like. And women kind of expect that. And Jack Lemmon says, oh, but I'm not even one of the good looking ones. And I love that the journey of those two characters isn't actually about getting away from the mob. It's actually sort of changing who they are as individuals.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that the journey is probably more important than the end result. And I suppose where I disagree a little bit along the lines of promoting this movie or thinking this movie is a top 100 is perhaps that it doesn't do enough with that material. So it showcases it, or it has these two main characters that are seeing the female perspective, but then it's, if anything, it's celebrated. It's not really dealt with, or it's sort of laughed off. Or Tony Curtis is still a sleaze and he still pursues Marilyn Monroe and she still is okay with it. And again, I know it's a 2018 lens on a 1959 film. So that's where the real difficulty, I suppose, comes in judging it fairly.
Andrew, do you have anything to add to that?
Very interesting just to listen to those opinions. I think, I can see your point of view in that. I think it really, the main fascination with the film is these guys in drag and the situation that creates for the two characters. And, the whole tension of the gangsters really just goes to the wayside, and it comes in really quite late in the film. You're kind of waiting. I got to the point where it's kind of like, okay, what next? Where's the conflict going to come from? And then eventually the gangsters arrive at the hotel. It reminded me of Sister Act. It's this very similar structure. And I think Sister Act was very good in that it, it kept you on your toes a little bit because there was always that threat that she's going to get discovered. And I think it probably missed that a little bit more suspense. But at the same time, I really don't think it was interested in the suspense in the get-go. And what Penny just said was spot on, that it was just about these guys exploring something of themselves, especially Jack Lemmon's character. I mean, he really was the one that had the proper character arc, and there's a bit of ambiguity at the end there, that maybe he enjoys, I
know.
Maybe
at the very end.
I called Mama. She was so happy she cried. She wants you to have her wedding gown. It's white lace.
Yeah, that's good. I can't get married in your mother's dress. She and I, we are not built the same way.
We can have it altered.
Yeah, no, you don't. That's good. I'm going to level with you. We can't get married at all.
Why not?
Well, in the first place, I'm not a natural blonde.
Doesn't matter.
I smoke. I smoke all the time.
I don't care.
Well, I have a terrible past. For 3 years now, I've been living with a saxophone player.
I forgive you.
I can never have children.
We can adopt some.
But you don't understand, Osgood. I'm a man.
Well, nobody's perfect.
I mean, he is homosexual. That's gutsy filmmaking for that time, and it's done so delicately that people wouldn't, be up in arms about it. So I think there's the challenge there is that it was made in that time, and it's just like, God, you're playing with something that's so controversial, and it's all sold in this very kind of, shiny, happy-go-lucky package. So again, no pun intended. Amen.
Is that the Sister Act reference as well in there? So good.
Andrew, the cinematographer of Some Like It Hot is Charles Lang.
Charles Lang.
Yes,
Charles Lang. I couldn't find a lot about Charles, but I guess in talking about his work in this film, it's a really striking looking film. The black and white is an interesting choice.
Just quickly, Andrew, in terms of cinematography and aesthetics, Billy Wilder chose to shoot the film in black and white as Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis in full drag costume and makeup looked unacceptably grotesque.
Yeah.
Apparently, in early colour tests.
They looked pretty creepy in black and white as well. But
Yeah.
I imagine,
You can imagine the colour just adding a little bit more creepiness to it.
I kind of want to see that, though. I think it'd be kind of even funnier if it was...
There might be some images, like still images and stuff, surely. Yeah?
Like just like someone's put a pie in their face, you know, just kind
Oh,
of...
God. Yeah, but it was an interesting choice, wasn't it? Going black and white.
Yeah, especially, again, like, you know, it was all about colour that period, you know, the Vista...
Definitely was.
Vista colour and, you know, like all those really vibrant Hollywood films that were coming out.
I mean, this was the same year as North by Northwest.
Yeah, that's
wasn't
right.
it? And the colour in that film was amazing.
Well, and all those, you know, epics, you know, like Ben-Hur and all, you know, just incredible colour popping out. So to kind of harken back to a little bit of the old-fashioned, maybe that plays into the 20s setting as well. Maybe there's something in that. But, you know, it's Billy Wilder's not a stylist, I wouldn't say, of a filmmaker. His dialogue is king. But, you know, he does move the camera in clever ways, you know, where he's kind of wanting to show you certain things, and the camera moves away when the guys are the Valentine's Day shooting. You know, it's powerful when you just see these machine guns blasting away at these guys you just saw against a wall, and it moves away. And, you know, obviously it doesn't fit in that genre to have, you know, mass gore, but just little clever touches like that I just think are effective.
What about that filmmaking technique in that sequence where it's cutting from Tony Curtis and Marilyn Monroe, you know, making out in the boat?
Oh, yeah.
And then it cuts to Jack Lemmon dancing on the dance floor.
That's brilliant.
It's going like back and forth, like with a wipe almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
That's brilliant comic editing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so well
that
done.
works so well. But yeah, no, he's been called upon. He's one of the go-tos in Hollywood at that time for big polished productions. And he did, you know, films like, you know, Elvis Presley's Blue Hawaii and Charade with Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant. Wait Until Dark, which is a really, you know, interesting kind of thriller. So yeah, he was kind of he did Sabrina with Billy Wilder earlier as well. So yeah, he's done a lot of the popular films of the time, so why not? Just
a quick note on the aspect ratio. It was actually shot in 1:66:1, while it was shown in theatres with an aspect ratio of 1:85:1.
Right.
So I don't know what the reason is for the change there, but
we need Charles around to find out.
We need to ask him. That's it. But have yourself, Penny, or Damon got anything to add about the cinematography, the way this film looks?
I think it looks good.
Carl Weathers, he's fine.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's the films of the time. They weren't sort of using anything completely outlandish. I think that it services the script, and I think it's the script that really needs to shine in this and the performances. So,
do you think, like Andrew said, that the black and white effect might have been something to do with the 1920s? Yeah.
I think that it brings that into focus in terms of it's a period piece in a way. But I also read about the ghoulish characteristics of these guys in drag, because film makeup at the time wouldn't be subtle anyway.
No.
So I think stylistically it's actually a really great choice.
Yeah,
it's like Raging Bull.
I've got praise for it, and you touched on the one thing I was going to mention today, which was I thought that was an amazing transition between Jack Lemmon dancing the foxtrot or whatever dance he's dancing, and Tony Curtis seducing Marilyn.
One of my favourite scenes. Yeah.
And it was whipping back and forth, and like time was passing, and Jack Lemmon's mood was changing. I thought it was just really just that sweeping, I don't know what it was, 180-degree sweep was just really effective. But otherwise, the chase scene at the start I thought was really well put together.
It was.
And it was really well shot.
Choreographed.
It was really well shot. I was excited. I found that exciting. It was opening to the movie. I was like, this is a really exciting scene, and it got you in the right mood.
It did.
And yeah, I don't really have many negatives. The only negative I'd have is an era negative criticism, which is the reprojection. But that's an era thing.
It is completely, and because all films from this era were using reprojection like that, and it wasn't as good as it became later on. And
the day for night shooting as well. You know.
When she's running down to the pier.
It's always. I think it's charming because it's such a dated kind of effect. But
you've used it in some of your films before, haven't you, Andrew?
You got me there. It's a shoestring budget.
You've tried it out yourself, the whole day for night thing.
But, there's definitely a nostalgic quality to it, which is effective. I mean, you couldn't do it today.
I always wanted to know why you didn't shoot that at night. But anyway, I was curious.
Didn't have any lights.
It's always budget. That's it. But just quickly, just before we move on, guys. You know you're watching a film from this era as well when you get film dissolves to transition scenes as well. Like, how many dissolves are there in this film?
I didn't actually notice them, to be honest.
You didn't notice them?
Right.
Because they're not part of modern film at all. Like, dissolves just scream olden days filmmaking to me now. Like, Damon, you noticed it, didn't you? Or?
I didn't take. I would actually.
Oh, okay.
I might compliment the movie in that I didn't notice too much. The only thing I noticed was that one scene I highlighted because it was so amazingly good.
If a dissolve pops up in a modern movie, it draws so much attention to itself that I'm like, oh my god, it's like
it's so
old
unusual.
School.
Yeah, Star Wars. It's a thing in Star Wars.
wipes.
The wipes.
And the
Yeah,
wipes.
old school kind of.
Nobody else uses wipes.
No.
God. But the dissolve is actually a very efficient way of storytelling.
I've used it before as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marilyn Monroe plays Sugarcane in this film, a ukulele player and singer. Billy Wilder and I.A.L. Diamond didn't expect such a big star as Marilyn Monroe to take the part of Sugar. In fact, Wilder said Mitzi Gaynor was who we had in mind, and then the word came that Marilyn wanted the part, and then we had to have Marilyn. Wilder and Monroe had already made the film The 7-Year Itch together in 1955 as well. So, yeah, I mean, Marilyn Monroe, I mean, we will get into, like, you know, all the trouble, like the behind the scenes stuff, particularly in the making of this movie, because it's, you know, it's interesting. But she's always infinitely watchable. I mean, you know, I get the appeal of Marilyn Monroe, that I mean, she was such a big star at the time. She was one of the main reasons that I was like looking forward to like watching this movie. Definitely. She's very, very watchable. Would you guys agree with that? Or
I don't know a lot about Marilyn Monroe. Like,
don't you?
Well, I mean, I haven't read any of the books about her. I mean, she's an intriguing character.
She really is.
Her films have never really drawn me in because they just always seem to be kind of these kind of airy, kind of bubbly, you know, comedies. And she's always just kind of sold as this kind of bimbo, basically, you know,
Yep.
beautiful bimbo.
Yeah.
You know, I dismissed it as like, I really don't want to watch that kind of film. But, you know, it was really good to see her in this film. And yes, there's elements of that in this film that she's kind of, you know, just this desirable figure.
Well, she was always known as, and correct me if I'm wrong, Damon, if you know, but she was always known as an amazing movie star, but never a really great actress. You know?
That's the thing. Like,
Would
but
that
there's
be
a
accurate?
depth there.
That'd be true.
There's a fascination. Like, she's got something about her that
She does.
That you know, because she's been so packaged as this pretty little thing. You know, like, it's just you just kind of, you know, there's more, and the films at the time obviously just didn't want to give her more to explore with. I think The Misfits is one of her last films, and that's one of her. I mean, she was going through a lot of troubles during that production, but there's a bit more depth in that film. But in this film, there's a really nice balance. You know, she's playing the sexy, desirable female, but she's also got a good comedic touch. And there's a bit of, you know, kind of a sadness to her character as well, which was really interesting to watch. And, you know, she just has this presence on screen. Her face is just fascinating. You know, just the eyes, and she's got an air of mystery about her, which you can see why she's just been so delved. You know, so many books have been written about her, and she's an intriguing character.
Her career is fascinating.
Yeah,
it really is.
Truly mysterious.
Yeah, Penny, what would you say about Marilyn Monroe?
She's really fantastic in this film, and yeah, in terms of like what her character wants, I sort of am morally against. I don't think even you actually need a man to provide you all that stuff. You can provide it for yourself, and she goes into the fact that, you know, Daddy cut her off from her allowance and whatnot when she wanted to get into the sort of the jazz clubs, I guess. But she's Marilyn. Yeah, she's really interesting, and I think you can't watch this film without sort of knowing. So for me, I sort of know a little bit about her. I watched the film Marilyn. I sort of did a bit of research on this film as well, and just knowing the difficulties it was to get her onto set, sometimes even to get the takes down. But she's Hollywood, you know, wrapped up in what I really appreciate is not being a completely waifish body. Like, she's got a body on her, particularly
in this film because she was pregnant.
Yeah,
you can tell she's a bit fuller than some of her previous work, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that is really good to see. But in terms of Marilyn as a Hollywood starlet, like even in this film, I sort of see it. I really see this film as a Jack Lemmon film. Like, I really love him in this film, alongside Tony Curtis. And then there's the added bonus of Marilyn being in here. But even in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, I prefer Jane Russell to Marilyn. She's very much of a caricature of herself, and that's sort of really being brought to the fore at this film. But she's lovely, and yeah, she's beautiful. And you can see why both men are sort of dueling for her as well. Like, Jack Lemmon steps aside, which is also very nice. It's interesting dynamics between the Curtis Lemmon characters as well, in terms of how they relate to one another as best friends. But yeah, Marilyn, she's gorgeous and beautiful.
Damon?
I'd agree with Penny on some of that. I feel that she was a bit of a caricature of herself, and in some ways, like Billy Wilder's taken the 7-Year Itch Marilyn and sort of plonked her in the character, and plonked a variation or pretty much the same character into this film. So I found her a bit disappointing in this one.
Yeah.
Having seen a lot of her films, and I think she has shined in other films much more in this one. So if you're looking at it from a crude, eye candy point of view, then you've got 7 Year Itch, where she's like a stunning and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and so on. And then you've got her in movies like The Bus Stop, which I'm stretching my memory. I haven't seen it for 20 years, but from memory, she's vulnerable in that one, and she's sad, and she's got dimensions. And in this movie, she's just
what was lacking? What was lacking here?
Her character, or the character she was working with.
Okay.
I just found even when the character was introduced, I mean, you had your stereotypical walking down the train platform and the steam. Yeah, the first two times, exactly. The first few times she appears on screen, you've got that muted brass effect, and then you've got they bump into her having her hip flask in the change rooms, and her whole boring exposition about why she's drinking and she's running away, and by the way, I'm an airhead, is sort of really clearly communicated, and and I fall for boys I shouldn't. They didn't really bother with her character. They're like, great, we've got Marilyn, a movie star. Let's plonk her in. That's what it felt like to me.
Okay.
This is a movie about Jack and Tony, and away they went.
Maybe that's
so maybe
due
I'm
to
being
the
way
fact
too
that
harsh.
they didn't think they'd get Marilyn Monroe. Maybe it was just that was the role, and then
Like
she
the whole Mitzi Gaynor thing, the way that they...
Well, I mean, maybe it wasn't written for Marilyn Monroe, and she kind of came in, and they went, we'll have Marilyn in the film.
They do Tombstone, all that stuff though. Like when she's sort of talking about, I like guys who wear glasses and I like guys who read the Financial Review. And then because I'd already seen it, obviously, had already seen it. And so you're like, oh, that's right. That's why Tony Curtis steals the glasses and reads the Fin Review and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, as in terms of like naturalistic dialogue, I don't think people go, I'm an airhead. And here's some information about me that you can utilize for later on. But it suits the genre of the film at the time.
Tony Curtis plays Joe-Josephine-Shell Oil Jr. in the film, a saxophone player, of course. So Tony Curtis was spotted by Billy Wilder while he was making the film Houdini in 1953, as he thought Tony would be perfect for the role of Joe. And he says, I was sure Tony was right for it because he was quite handsome. And when he tells Marilyn he is one of the Shell Oil family, she has to be able to believe it as well. So yeah. And what do you guys think? Start over here with you, Penny. Tony Curtis.
Those eyes. He's got amazing eyes.
Yeah.
He's great. I love how they introduce how he speaks as well. That first scene where he gets on the phone to book the gig.
Hello, Mr. Polyakov. I understand you're looking for a couple of girl musicians.
Like his whole body changes as well as his voice. And then when he's dressed up as Junior and he has the happy accident where he's sitting by a bucket of shells, I think that's sort of all quite beautiful as well. And you believe it when he's going in and out of those characters. So he's really sort of doing full roles in and of itself.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I think he's wonderful. And I think his voice was sort of loosely based on Cary Grant. I'm actually interested, Andrew, you could probably mimic some of the lines from this film quite well.
I can't do a Cary Grant.
But can you do a Tony Curtis doing a Cary Grant? People don't talk like that.
Does that mean you played that very fast music, jazz?
Yeah, real hot.
Oh, well, I guess some like it hot. I personally prefer classical music.
Don't cut that out.
I loved it though. I loved his kind of take on Cary Grant. What was that? New Hampshire or something? Is it what they call it? There's a certain. It's from that accent is from a certain region
in America. Yeah.
And yeah, it was just modelled completely on Cary Grant. I thought those guys were probably mates, and he probably would have been like doing a little bit of a dig at Cary, I reckon.
So what did you think
of Curtis?
Yes.
Oh yeah, great. He didn't really seem to get a lot of kudos in this film. It was Jack Lemmon who kind of got the main acclaim. But what Penny was saying, he plays so many roles, and he's crucial to that mix between the two of them. Like he's the more domineering, persuasive character of the two of them, and Jack Lemmon kind of is always a little bit intimidated by him, which is interesting. And they're friends, but there's kind of there's a tension there.
There's competition there for sure.
Yeah, like that's that moment when he rushes back to the hotel to try and beat Tony Curtis, and Tony Curtis just comes out of the bath and he's full.
It's great.
But it's quite menacing. Like it's just the way it's shot. It's just he kind of like lifts up and it's just like really angry at him for like trying to screw up his whole plight. But so there is a tension between those two guys, and yeah, I think Curtis really does that alpha male thing very well.
Damon?
Yeah, I'm going to buck convention here because a lot of kudos is given to Jack Lemmon. But for my opinion, Tony Curtis steals the show, or I would elevate him above Jack in this film.
Okay.
Which I know that would be totally against popular opinion. But yeah, I thought he did a really good job. He played like the delicate female quite well, and the way he sort of pursed his lips and, you know, strutted along and things like that. And he did the same again with the Cary Grant voice. And so I think that a lot of compliments need to be headed his way.
So not enough kudos?
Possibly not.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack Lemmon is just known and has the reputation of being like so funny, and he's got such a great body of work. And deservedly so. He does a good job in this film. But from my point of view, I thought Tony Curtis was a step above.
So, yeah, we've spoken about him, but yeah, Jack Lemmon plays Jerry-Daphne in the film, a double bass player in the movie. Wilder's first idea for the role actually wasn't Jack Lemmon. It was actually Frank Sinatra. Did you guys know about this?
Yeah.
But he never came to the audition. Jerry Lewis and Danny Kaye were also considered for the role of Jerry. And finally, Wilder saw Jack Lemmon in the comedy Operation Madball and selected him for the role of Jerry. Billy Wilder and Jack Lemmon made numerous films together until 1981, among them The Apartment and several films with Walter Matthau, apparently, as well. So, Penny, I'll start over here with you. Jack Lemmon?
I love Jack Lemmon.
Yeah?
Yeah, and in this film, for me, comedy wins. You know, get somebody funny against somebody that's like supposedly good looking. Comedy for me always wins. Like there's more depth, there's more character, there's a lot more going on, and the way that he sort of acquiesces to Tony Curtis's, like their friendship is very solid. So he kind of just plays along with it, and he's just happy to do so. Yeah, we'll talk about favorite scenes as well in a moment. But to me, this is his film. Like I really relished watching him on screen again, and his was the most interesting journey from when we were whip panning backwards and forwards between the yacht and between the dance club. I mean, just those silent moments compared to Tony Curtis doing all the work, and you know, a bit creepily as well. But Jack Lemmon for me is just the standout performer in this film.
Thanks, Penny. Andrew?
Yeah, I just see it as a duo film, this one.
I think so too.
I can't separate the two of them. They need each other. Jack Lemmon, he's just comedic gold, and just he lights up the screen with his comedic just physicality. You know, when he's playing the bass, just the image of him on the bass with that face is just it's just classic. And it's just the two different approaches from those actors. It just really works beautifully together. So yeah, I can see why he got a lot of the awards. But I really do think the two of them make the film.
Damon, would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely a duo, and really strengthens the comedy to have, you know, the delicate Curtis and the, you know, gum smacking between the teeth, tart like Lemon when he's dressed as Daphne. So I thought he did a really good performance. He's really, really funny. The character, if I wanted to nitpick a little bit, and I'm being pedantic, so I'm aware of that, but I found that his beginning character, like his actual character, Jerry, didn't match his transformation to Daphne. So Daphne was like this real pig. Like he was a pig when he was Daphne. He was like, let's try to get Marilyn into my bunk. And did you check out that liquor cabinet? And he's being like a real pig. But his character at the start seemed to be like subservient to Curtis and seemed to be like a nice guy. Did you find that? I don't know.
So you sort of felt that with the character,
I think that was a
change.
script writing criticism, I suppose. I just found that the characterization transition didn't work. Like his Daphne was great, but his character that was like they were hocking his coat, and he was a really careful, considered person that, you know, we need to budget, and it didn't match the character that was, look at these women, you know.
Yeah, but maybe more of the real him was coming out. He was using it as an excuse. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, like he could, when he took on Daphne, more of his real self came out.
Well, I could buy that if he was getting into his feminine side, and or tapping into his homosexual side. Yeah, I could buy into that, but not him becoming like a male chauvinist pig. Like he became that when he became Daphne, when he was first Daphne on the train.
Is that sort of showcased by the fact that he doesn't become Geraldine, he becomes Daphne? So the natural sort of transition was Jerry to Geraldine, but he says, no, I'm going to be Daphne. So it's kind of almost like, I actually agree with what you're saying, Damon. I think that, he, like, in retrospect, he's not a woman. He's this monster Daphne that sort of wants to get the girl, but, you know, sort of get on side and then kind of overtake his friend trying to get the girl as well. And he's not a cross-dressing man at that point. He's this sort of weird monster. Yeah, maybe I've changed my opinion.
That's what Real Chat's all about.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
But Jack Lemmon, hilarious. Like when we're talking Jack Lemmon,
Yeah.
I'm more nitpicking at the characters.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I understand. There's a large supporting cast in this film, guys. Are there any particular ones that you guys want to bring up? Such as, like, George Raft, who plays Spats Colombo in the film, for example.
Yeah, it's great. He's just the epitome of a really good mobster.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, he was really good. And he is a mobster, like, it's a pure satire, isn't it? He was a mobster in, do you want to guess, Scarface or one of those films? Anyway, so if you were sitting in 1959, sitting in the cinema, you'd be recognising certain people, and I think that's why that scene where he meets his demise is so over the top, because it's actually spoofing these mobster films.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they've got a genuine mobster actor.
Yeah.
To do, and he's great. I love him.
How chilling is Little Bonaparte? The guy who gets him, who's heading the meeting at the hotel, he's frightening. I thought he was like, Jesus, this guy's like, I mean, it was obviously modelled on Al Capone, I think. Yeah. But, like, it kind of reminded me of like a James Gandolfini it was menacing.
He's so good.
Really frightening.
And it's funny because it's so over the top.
Yeah.
It's so over the top. Like, it's your birthday. Don't worry, it's your birthday. 4 months from now, it's all good. Like, it's just, so as the audience, we're following along, like, finding it humorous. But yeah, he's menacing at the time, getting too big for your spats. Yeah. That's my favourite line in the whole movie. Yeah.
That's good stuff. Anyone else, guys, that you want to bring up?
Just Joe E. Brown, who plays Osgood Fielding III. What a weird tick he's got with his laugh. He's like Herman Munster.
I know. Yeah, what a face that guy's got as
quite
well.
Amazing.
Like,
yeah, he's great. He's just a kind of bogus appearance in this film. He just kind of comes in and just turns it up to 11 every time he's on it.
I like how he's introduced to the film, which is maybe not a comment on his character, but on this film acknowledging how over the top it is to its audience, having them all the millionaires synchronized on the rocking chairs, flapping their papers open and then turning their heads and looking at like the new inverted commas cattle that are coming along, and it was sort of quite humorous, I thought.
One of the most famous backstories from this film, guys, is obviously the problems with one Marilyn Monroe. There were many problems with Marilyn Monroe, who lacked concentration and suffered from addiction to pills, Andrew, as well. So she could not memorize many of her lines and required, 47 takes to get "It's me, sugar" correct.
It's a difficult line. It's nuanced.
Instead of saying "sugar, it's me" or "it's sugar me," as what she was quoted as saying as well.
What was she saying?
Joey Tribbiani.
Yeah, I was about to say, what's she saying? "It's me, Marilyn. I mean, sugar."
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon made bets during the filming on how many takes Marilyn would need to get it right as well, so they had a good time with it. I wouldn't imagine it would be as funny in 2018 if this happened.
No.
No.
Well, at least they wouldn't be burning film. They'd be shooting on digital.
Well, there's that. But after take 30, Billy Wilder had the line written on a blackboard. Another scene required Monroe to rummage through some drawers and say, "Where's the bourbon?" After 40 takes of her saying, "Where's the whiskey? Where's the bottle? Or where's the bonbon?" Wilder pasted the correct line in one of the drawers itself. After Monroe became confused about which drawer contained the line, Wilder had it pasted in every drawer, apparently, as well.
So it's obviously quite sad. We're
making light of it.
We're picturing that they're wheeling her out of her trailer, riddled with whatever she's taking.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. 59 takes were required, Andrew, for this scene, and when she finally does say it, she has her back to the camera, leading some to wonder if Wilder finally gave up and had it dubbed as well, which you wouldn't put past it in desperation. But
I didn't know there was all that going on.
Paradoxically, 3 days for shooting were scheduled for the scene with Shell Jr. and Sugar at the beach, and although Marilyn had plenty of complicated lines, the whole scene between Shell Jr. and Sugar was completely finished in only 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Monroe's acting coach Paula Strasberg and Monroe's husband Arthur Miller both tried to influence the production, which Wilder and other crew members found annoying, as you can imagine, Stories of the difficulty of the cast and crew had with Marilyn Monroe during the making of this film have grown to almost mythical proportions. In the farewell telephone conversation between Monroe and Tony Curtis, her side-by-side eye movements clearly reveal that she was reading her lines directly from an off-screen blackboard. And according to Curtis, Monroe was routinely 2 to 3 hours late to set.
Jesus.
Imagine that happened today. Don't come back.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to recast.
The star power that she yielded as well.
Indeed, and occasionally refused to leave her dressing room as well. So a bit of a princess.
Yeah, it's when you know about that sort of stuff, it really sort of tinges it with a real sadness.
Credit to the filmmakers, though, the way that you wouldn't really know about this.
Well, that's right. I was just going to say, like, I would not have noticed the pains that they've gone through to get that result.
Final note here as well, guys. Billy Wilder said in 1959 about filming another movie with Marilyn Monroe, I have discussed this with my doctor and my psychiatrist, and they tell me I'm too old and too rich to go through this again. But Wilder also admitted, my Aunt Minnie would always be punctual and never hold up production, but who would pay to see my Aunt Minnie in a film? He also stated that Monroe actually did play her part quite wonderfully when she was, when she was on.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. This is legendary stuff, for the time. There you go.
Well, it's the Hollywood, Hollywood star power. We put them on these pedestals and we put their persona up there.
Definitely.
Like a candle in the wind.
That's it. Just quickly, guys, where did Joe and Jerry get the clothes, wigs, and makeup to dress up as girls? Have you thought about that?
Didn't they get it from one of the booking agents?
They borrowed the clothes from the girls in the chorus.
Or that.
Some like secondhand wigs and stuff like that.
But that wouldn't make sense. Why would they be borrowing wigs from the girls in the chorus? From which chorus? The one on the train or a previous chorus? Doesn't make sense.
Before they get
doesn't
there.
make sense.
And when are they at the time when they're running out from the police?
The mob.
It's a long-standing Hollywood legend that after Curtis and Lemon dressed up for the first time as Josephine and Daphne, that they tested out the disguises by going into a ladies' room, and the ploy worked perfectly. Nobody actually knew that they were men.
Creepy.
Yeah, very creepy.
Or just assume that we're transsexuals.
Guys, what does the title mean? What do some like hot?
Is it the jazz that Junior's referring to?
The hot jazz, the type of music that the all-girl band performs, yes.
Yeah, he said, I know that some like it hot, but I prefer something. And then, because Marilyn agrees and says, we play hot jazz. And
that's the main scene in which the name is dropped in. Yeah, Damon?
I had no idea. I always assumed that they gave it a title, Some Like It Hot, just for the profitability. It's a Marilyn Monroe picture and it's called Some Like It Hot. Ooh, let's go see this.
Yeah.
That's what I always assumed.
Well, that's all you need, really.
And and I'd imagine, I wouldn't be surprised if an aspect of that is involved in its title.
Oh, definitely.
But they're running from the mob. It's a hot time. They're going to Florida. Some do like it hot. Yep.
Were the voices of the female Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis dubbed?
Yes. I know this because I watched the special features.
I actually checked out the special features. Yeah. Jack Lemmon did his own voice as Daphne. Tony Curtis has revealed in various interviews that he couldn't quite put on a female voice. His voice is quite deep, and so he kept slipping in and out of different vocal tones. So Curtis had his voice dubbed by a professional named Paul Frees. Now, you know who Paul Frees is, Damon?
No.
I got a really obscure reference. This is for anyone out there who used to watch the 80s action series Knight Rider. Kit, you remember the classic car from Knight Rider?
Yes.
Kit had an evil doppelganger in a couple of episodes called Car, or K-A-R-R.
With the yellow light. Identical car with the yellow light.
With the yellow scanner, not the red scanner. So that was typical 80s doppelganger, right, Andrew? Right? Car was voiced in one of the episodes by Paul Frees, and it's this really evil, menacing voice that's in real correlation with William Daniels, who did the voice of Kit, which is this really friendly computer voice from the time. So
car and drag as well?
Not quite, yeah.
It was a drag car.
But it's hilarious. I just to make that weird connection. I'm like, Paul Frees?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Do we know what else he's done? Has he just done voice work?
He's done a lot, but I haven't really looked into it. No, but he's definitely he's done a lot of voice work. Probably a lot of animated programs and stuff.
You're a car. Cars don't talk.
Correct. I am not a car. I am the Night Automated Roving Robot, the first in a bold new experiment. You may call me Car.
Freeze's voice was mixed in with Curtis's attempts at a higher voice. However, Curtis did do the Cary Grant voice when playing Junior.
Nice.
So
I'm glad.
On the nostalgic look back featurette that's on the 2001 DVD, Tony Curtis is actually quite interesting talking about that because he doesn't belittle it, but he really plays it down. He sort of says, he makes some weird remarks like audio's not really that important. It's all visual. It's a visual medium.
Yeah, right.
So he's not really...
Maybe that's why he didn't get so much award.
Don't know, but he didn't really pay it forward much in that interview. He sort of really said, it didn't really matter anyway. My voice couldn't do that, so I just got someone to do it, and all the kudos still on me. It's a visual medium.
Really?
Yeah, that's sort of the flavour of how he addresses it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Last question here, guys. Why does Junior tell Sugar that he's impotent?
It's implied that he's impotent. He's dead inside.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, the whole flavour of the seduction, yes.
Yeah, that was his way of fooling Sugar into taking the initiative to make out with him on Osgood's yacht in
The
the
old
film.
reverse psychology.
Yeah.
Yep.
Joe wants to make it with Sugar badly, of course, but since he's already friends with her in disguise as Josephina, uses his masquerade as the millionaire junior to pretend to be impotent to gain her sympathy and encourage her to try to best arouse him. So, yeah.
And his leg goes up to the ceiling, so I think it worked.
Indeed.
He doesn't pull any punches, does he? Because when she goes real hot and heavy, he goes, absolutely nothing, but if anything did happen, I'll marry that person. Like, he just ups the stakes, doesn't he? So
Just a bit of trivia here quickly, guys, from Some Like It Hot. Jack Lemmon wrote that the first sneak preview had a bad reaction with many audience walkouts, which I found surprising. Many studio personnel and agents offered advice to Billy Wilder on what scenes to reshoot, add and cut. Lemmon asked Wilder what he was going to do. Wilder responded, "Why nothing? This is a very funny movie and I believe in it just as it is. Maybe this is just the wrong neighborhood in which to have shown it. At any rate, I don't panic over one preview. It's a hell of a movie." That's confidence. Wilder held the next preview in the Westwood section of Los Angeles and the audience stood up and cheered.
Yeah.
So,
prudes.
yeah. Tony Curtis has said that he asked Billy Wilder if he could imitate Cary Grant for his stint as the millionaire in the movie. Wilder liked it and they shot it that way. Apparently, Grant saw the parody of himself and stated jokingly, "I don't talk like that."
I don't talk like that. Sorry, that's a second attempt. Cut them both out. They're awful.
Can anyone do it effectively?
I think Andrew can. Come on, Andrew.
Here we
I
go.
need practice. You can't be put on the spot.
That's
Sorry.
it.
I'm sorry.
In 2008, a California man who found a little black dress in his closet was stunned when appraisers for US TV series Antiques Roadshow determined it once belonged to Marilyn Monroe. The frock, which Monroe was sewn into for Some Like It Hot, was estimated to be worth $250,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How do you find
That's what I want to know.
that in any closet?
How did he
Such
find
a weird sentence.
You know? It's strange, isn't it? He found it, but like under what circumstances? Like,
Is it like wallpapered in? Or like how do you...
I don't,
How do you just find... Anyway,
I don't know,
I'm concentrating
Penny.
on all the wrong stuff. 250,000?
Yeah.
It's a lot for a dress.
A preview audience laughed so hard after Daphne's announcement of the engagement to Osgood that a lot of the dialogue was missed. It was reshot with pauses and the America gimmick added to allow for this as well. So...
Actually, I really love that scene. But yeah, the maracas is like it's just like a weirdly distracting bit. But yeah, when I read that's why they put it in, I was like, that is really clever filmmaking. Yeah,
and how funny is that, the way that you would reshoot something to accommodate the laughs because you don't want people to miss a particular gag?
Yeah.
Supposedly, when Ori Kelly was measuring all 3 stars for dresses, he half-jokingly told Marilyn Monroe, "Tony Curtis has a nicer butt than you." At which point, Monroe pulled open her blouse and said, "Yeah, but he doesn't have tits like these."
Whoa. Marilyn, I would not expect that of her.
Really?
Not well.
Serious?
Really coked out of her brain, so...
Oh, yeah.
She got that line right, didn't she?
That sounded really Marilyn Monroe to me.
Yeah.
Like, as in, she would play along with
You
that.
can't really compare and contrast. I mean, they're 2 different parts of the body.
In regards to the DVD, Blu-ray or Ultra HD releases of Some Like It Hot, Damon, there was the 2001 special edition or gold edition, as I think it was called in some markets as well, which you've checked out special features on this, haven't you?
Yep.
So there's a nostalgic look back with Tony Curtis and hosted by Leonard Maltin. Is this the one that you were talking about?
That's the one I've watched. It goes for about 30 minutes.
Just with him?
Just with... they're actually at the... You mentioned it at the top of the show, the hotel. I can't remember what the hotel was called.
Yes.
But they're sitting in like a little... Looks like a little like a diner 1950s sort of booth, and they're opposite each other, and it's an interview. And a lot of the trivia that we actually mentioned already...
comes from this?
Comes through what Curtis shares. Like he shares anecdotes from the filming, and he... it's a little bit of a celebration of like how good the film is, and
just don't mention the sound.
Don't mention that I got my voice dubbed, but that didn't matter because it's a visual medium.
Also, a featurette, Memories from the Sweet Sues, the all-girl band featurette. Did you?
Yeah,
anything in that?
I think I watched that. I might have watched it when I first got the DVD. This time around, I watched a few minutes and zipped through it. It was pretty much just. It felt like a filler to me.
Okay.
It had the Sues were basically 3 or 4 of the extras or one-liner characters from the train.
Right.
And they were just reflecting back, and a lot of it was just, again, telling about their experiences with Marilyn and things that they observed and things that happened on set. Yeah.
A virtual hall of memories with 5 vignettes featuring never-before-seen photos of Munro, Curtis, Lemon, Wilder behind-the-scenes images is...
Yep. So, yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Interactive menu, click on the link, and
it's very old-school DVD thing.
Photo after photo. And
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the trailer and original press book gallery on there as well. There was a re-release which actually had an audio commentary featuring a new interview with actor Tony Curtis, an archived 1984 interview with actor Jack Lemmon. Disc 2, Damon, ports across those same special features that you've seen, but adds 2 new ones. The Making of Some Like It Hot, 25 minutes, and The Legacy of Some Like It Hot, 20 minutes. They had to put something on there to sell more, didn't they? Otherwise, it's pretty much the
make
same.
It bigger and better. Yeah.
The 2011 US, UK, and Europe, and I specify that omitting Australia here because there is no Blu-ray of Some Like It Hot in Australia, but it's region free. So if you just go somewhere else in the world, like one of the Amazon sites or something, you can just order it on Blu-ray if you do love this film, which I have seen the transfer from the Blu-ray, and it does look very good. You know what I mean? It does a lot of justice to the cinematography, and you're going to say something about it?
I watched it on Stan, so that was the quality of that was really, really good.
Yeah, so it's the same HD version of it for sure. Yeah. But yeah, it's region free, and it's the same as the collector's edition DVD. So it's essentially just, better quality. So streaming penny for Some Like It Hot.
Yeah, as Damon said, it's available on Stan, not currently available on Netflix.
Good stuff. Thank you. Okay, Andrew, the score for Some Like It Hot, Adolf Deutsch.
Speaking of Hitler.
Indeed.
It's an unfortunate name, that one, isn't it?
So it has a very authentic 1920s jazz feel. Using sharp, brassy strings to create tension in certain moments. For example, whenever Spat's gangsters appear, I noticed the score quite a lot as well. But what are some of your impressions of this?
Yeah, it's been given the title of background music is his title on this film, which is probably not as flattering of, in terms of your job.
Not as cool as like original score or,
Well, I think they're trying to differentiate him from the songs. So, Mr. Deutsch had nothing to do with the songs, but he did do the score, and he's a very decorated career as a film composer. He worked on The Maltese Falcon and worked on a lot of musicals, popular musicals in the 50s, like Showboat and The Bandwagon, Oklahoma, with an exclamation mark. Sorry. That must have been more Oklahoma. Sorry. So yes, he's obviously the go-to man for a lot of the Hollywood scores at the time, and it does a nice job. It is just gentle underscore, and it certainly assists the movie, but I wouldn't say it has a great presence in the film. It's more about Marilyn Monroe performing the songs, I think, a bit of a showcase. Background
music just seems like, like if you start talking to someone who's not really across filmmaking about the music. Yeah. You go, the score in this part, and they look at you like, what? Yeah, the background music.
Yeah, that's right. It's the stuff you don't pay attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty...
It's creating
awful
mood.
Title.
It's creating mood. Yeah, I don't like that.
And he's been listed in several films as that. He's like the background guy, it's just, come on. He's composed the music.
Poor Adolf.
And he's been named Adolf for starters. And he's born in England, so that must have been awkward for him.
Born in England as well, jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But managed to find work, so good on him. But yes, nice job, and the songs are great as well. They're classic songs. I Want to Be Loved by You.
Four songs.
But what about the songs? Sorry, just screwball comedy humour there.
Oh, sorry.
So there was also a 15-track song and score compilation album.
Yes, there was. Yeah.
4 songs performed by Marilyn Monroe for the movie. 9 songs composed by Adolf Deutsch, as well as 2 songs performed by jazz artist Maddie Melnick, apparently, as well.
And it was quite a popular soundtrack at the time.
It was it?
Yeah, it did quite well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still considered to be quite a desirable release. Especially, I think, maybe the Marilyn Monroe factor. Sorry, Mr. Deutsch, but, brought that across.
Good stuff. Anything else to add on the music there, Andrew?
I don't think so.
We're all good. Thank you very much indeed. In regards to alternate versions, just quickly, apparently the video version contains extended exit music after the film, whatever that means.
For the audience to exit?
Yeah, like exiting the cinema. I don't know.
Get the fuck out, get the fuck out.
But that's weird because that's the video version that contains that extended bit of music. It's not like we're leaving the cinema, you're leaving the couch and walking to the kitchen.
I like it though. When you make a cup of tea and start talking about the film after,
the music's playing.
It's good background music.
It has this as well, Andrew. The Soviet Union version was cut by 20 minutes for some reason.
It's just all of the drag sequences are taken out.
They kept all the machine gunning of people.
Yeah, the stuff with the mob stuff stayed in, but all the drag stuff was removed. So, yeah, guys, sequel, prequel, remake, reboot, or leave it alone. Penny.
Don't touch it. Sorry, Penny.
Go. Oh, no.
Andrew.
Oh, you can't remake this film. It's a piece of magic.
It's the era as well.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And they probably will, having said that, though. I mean, they're remaking untouchable films all the time. But I think it's so nice to see a really strong comedy because they're not making them at the moment. Like, there's just everything's so dark and doom and gloom and, just this carefree kind of comedy, which is just really sharply written. I'm going off topic, but don't remake it.
Penny.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think this film is a musical without it being a musical. So they've sort of got great musical numbers in there. But in terms of a remake, like you actually touched on it before, Andrew, like now thinking about it, Sister Act is pretty much a remake of this film. So I think the overall theme can be done, but this film for me is like, just leave it alone. It's great as it is. And I think that just the trio of those performances together with Billy Wilder at the helm, I don't think you can recapture that.
I think maybe in this top 100, Penny, 99 of the 100 films, you would probably say leave it alone too. It seems to be a common theme.
Of
Just
course.
Occasionally one pops in which you're like, yeah.
I'm a purist.
Yep, indeed.
And if we needed any more argument, there's Hot Chick. Leave it alone.
What, you don't want to see that film remade?
That's a classic. I'm actually serious. I love that film, but
Mr. Quah.
Yeah, leave it alone. Look, particularly that it's taboo breaking at its time, but it would make no sense in a modern remake. It would fall really flat because hopefully we're too progressive now to see this as something new. This is everyday, acceptable part of our society. It's recognised now. We still have a long way to go, but now it would fall flat. If we wouldn't be laughing at people cross-dressing and things because hopefully it's more normalised.
I think if it was to, it'd be an interesting exercise to remake it as a political statement, as opposed to a good piece of narrative fiction. I think as a political statement, it'd be interesting to remake it, but as a piece of narrative fiction, it's already been remade. So this was already based on Fanfare of Love. So it's already been remade.
Round the board, guys, leave it alone. There's nothing much more needs to be added to that. Just quickly, guys, in regards to the awards for the film at the Academy Awards in 1960, it was the winner of Best Costume Design, Black and White. They specified black and white there, which was interesting. And it was nominated Oscars for Best Actor in a Leading Role to Jack Lemmon, Best Director Billy Wilder, Best Writing Screenplay based on material from another medium to Billy Wilder and I.A.L. Diamond, Best Cinematography, again, black and white, the Charles Lane, they specify that, and Best Art Direction Set Decoration, black and white, to Ted Haworth and Edward G. Boyle. And the Golden Globes in 1960 as well, it won 3 of them, Best Motion Picture Comedy, Best Actress Comedy or Musical to Marilyn Monroe, and Best Actor Comedy or Musical to Jack Lemmon. Some Like It Hot opened to largely positive reviews and is today considered to be one of the greatest American comedies of all time. It was voted as the top comedy film by the American Film Institute on their list of AFI's 100 Years, 100 Laughs poll in 2000. And in 2017, the film was voted the best comedy of all time in a poll of 253 film critics from 52 countries conducted by the BBC in 2017, which I found interesting. And in 2005, the British Film Institute included this film on British Film Institute list of the 50 films you should see by the age of 14.
Are we doing that as a podcast in the future?
Oh, going to have to
I think
now.
we already are, aren't we?
Also, guys, the film's iconic closing line, "Nobody's perfect," now ranked 78th on the Hollywood Reporter list of Hollywood's 100 favourite movie lines, was never supposed to be in the final cut. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I love this. This is my favourite bit of trivia.
Diamond and Wilder put it in the script as a placeholder until they could come up with something better, but they never did. But yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah, happy accidents.
There is actually a lot of them. A lot of the big movie quotes of all time is normally an interesting backstory to it.
Yeah, whether it's an ad lib or a placeholder or...
The Rotten Tomatoes website certifies Some Like It Hot fresh with a score of 96%, which I found very high. 51 positive and only 2 negative. And the audience score as well, very high at 94%, average rating of 4.1 out of 5. And IMDb as well, 8.3 out of 10. So very high. So guys, the top 100, does this deserve to be there? And is number 82 a fitting position for it? Penny?
Yes.
Yep.
It is, I think, a really brilliant film. I think it's also really, really important to have films that are made pre-1980 in the top 100 film list of all time of any.
Why did you specify 1980?
I just sort of think that's sort of where we begin to sort of kick off. And
I think go back a little bit, Penny. Maybe I think if you have a look at the list, there's a lot of 70s stuff.
That's true. Sorry, I do take that.
I think
back.
maybe
what we've been looking at currently.
Maybe 1975. Back is what you're sort of implying there.
Okay.
I get that. Yeah.
It's good to have a black and white film in here.
Yeah. Although we did look at Raging Bull.
Yeah, that's true. I can't wait. Because we are essentially looking at Hollywood films. It's good to really have some of Hollywood's groundbreaking cinema in there that is so well treasured. I think this is a really great film.
Good stuff.
Top 100.
Thanks, Penny. Damon, top 100?
I'd echo that. I think there needs to be a lot more pre-1975 or black and whites in here. But that's where my agreements would end. I'd say no, not in the 100. I think for me, it was far too dated, and it didn't do tick enough boxes for me. Certain things that I would pick out to try to justify my reason is I can appreciate that it was a simple comedy, and I found it just didn't. I know it's a comedy, so it's not its job to deal with issues, but it didn't really resolve its own storyline. It degraded women, I found, and it didn't really deal with that. Or usually in a comedy where someone's trying to trick the female character, they get egg on their face or they learn their lessons. That didn't happen in this movie. It almost celebrated the deceptiveness of Tony Curtis, I found. So maybe I'm just being a bit of a downer on what's a fun, joyous movie. So I'm careful. I'm sort of acknowledging that there might be a problem perhaps with the viewer, not with the film. But for me, there's so many films. And I love my classic movies. There's so many that would go in above this. Mm-hmm. Just to confine my focus on the people involved in this film alone, you've got Wilder and Lemon within 12 months have put out The Apartment, which is a fantastic film. You've got Monroe, who I would put in like the 7-year itch ahead of this. You've got even Tony Curtis in the following year did Spartacus with Stanley Kubrick. All these, I know that's not a comedy, but for me, not only is it not in the 100, it's probably a fair way out.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Thanks, Damon. Andrew?
Yeah, I'd probably say this is the first time I've seen it and I heard a lot about it and really enjoyed it, but I don't think it would fit into my mold of 100 films. I think there's plenty of older films that would go in there beforehand that are absolute classics.
Yeah, and I've got to agree with Damon and Andrew on this occasion. It seems like a strange one in the top 100. Again, I think Damon hit upon it perfectly. There are a lot of movies from this era that you would put in ahead of this one.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the one thing I love about it, which makes me cringe to put it out, is that it's breaking ground and that it's celebrating the diversity of cross-dressing and it has the homosexual themes through it, and it's at the time a breath of fresh air, and it helped open the door to progressiveness.
Yeah.
So that's where I really and ah about it, but holistically and trying to take the 1959 hat off and go, well, objectively looking at the film, in present day, that's my reasoning.
Yep. No, thanks a lot, Damon. Traditional 5-star review system. We always start over here with Mr. Andrew McCaskill.
Yeah, I'd give it a 3. I'd give it 3 stars.
Yep. Recommend or?
Absolutely. I think it's great uplifting comedy. We need them these days, so go back and watch it.
Good stuff. Thanks. Penny?
Yeah, I'd give it a 4, sort of erring on a higher 4. It's just nice to see a comedy, I think, as you were just saying, Andrew. It's really good just to see something refreshing and something different, very different in this case as it is pushing all those boundaries, but it's refreshing. A refreshing 4.
Good stuff. Yeah, thanks, Penny. Damon?
I'm a 2.5.
Yep.
And before this conversation, I was a not recommend. I'd say don't bother. But having been swayed a little bit, I'd say it's worth a look. It's a bit of fun, even for curiosity's sake at the very least. But, you've got some nice performances in there and there are some really cute gags and so on. So it's a nice little nostalgic movie. So I'll probably switch over to recommend. I
was bordering on that myself when I was doing my review for this one, Damon. The difference between, just like the Rotten Tomatoes score, the difference between 2.5 and 3 for me is essentially a not recommend to a recommend, right? I opted to go 3 stars and recommend the film, right? I'm right on there, okay? So just quickly, Some Like It Hot manages the difficult task of being a cross-dressing comedy from the 50s, which somehow avoids being offensive by today's standards and remains very funny in large parts. I think if you put this movie into the hands of just about any other director of the day, not only would it be utterly forgotten, but it would near universally be considered unmemorable, I think, as well. But Billy Wilder does the miraculous and transforms this sexually confused and tonally off-putting film into something reasonably fun. It's a fun movie with flaws, though, and it doesn't hold up to today's standards in terms of content, essentially what Damon's been saying. But from a structure standpoint, that toes the difficult comedy line between humour and chaotic tension that so many other films fail in. Sure, the joke gets a bit stale, but overall, Wilder finds a way to make even a stale premise interesting. This is probably one of Marilyn Monroe's most iconic roles, but like you said as well, Damon, there are other films that you would put in front of this one. It's also inarguable that she is the epitome of sex appeal in this film as well, but more than that, she stands out as a funny and charming character, which I think is what sort of, something that I definitely connected with. It didn't hold up as well as I'd hoped, and its politics, though ahead of its time in 1959, kind of drag a little bit in 2018. Some Like It Hot is a fine comedy, but certainly not great. And it's a very odd choice for sort of the number one slot of America's funniest comedy films. Not number one. I definitely understand why it's there, but not number one. So yeah, like I said before, 3 stars and recommend the film. Although, yeah, I was teetering like you, Damon, on the verge. I think, yeah, on our rating system, 2.5 and 3, that's probably the biggest gap, I think, that you can find.
Clearly peer group pressure was involved in my recommendation.
Yeah. So just quickly, guys, where to find us. You can find us at realchat.com.au, social media channels, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and Patreon as well. And don't forget iTunes reviews, guys. I'm really going to be mentioning that at least twice an episode from here forward until the numbers start going up, okay? So if you want me to shut up, give us some iTunes reviews, please. Just before we go, I just want to say a very special congratulations to a member of our team today, just before we leave. Miss Penny Jelly, congratulations on the engagement.
Thank you very much.
No worries at all. We're all very pleased for you here at Real Chat.
Trying to subvert genres myself.
Yes, absolutely you are. But it's fantastic that someone like yourself has this opportunity. I mean, I honestly couldn't be happier for you with the recent, changes that have gone on in this country. Well overdue.
Thank you very much.
As well. So, but it's fantastic news, Penny, and all of us here. I wish you and Helen the best going forward.
Thank you very much. The only sad thing is I'm probably going to miss some of Real Chat because I'll be off getting married. So.
Oh look, priorities, but.
Exactly. But thank you. Thank you.
I'll be speaking to you about changing dates after the show. Anyway.
My wedding? Yeah, that's fair enough. The patriarchy reigns, yeah.
But congratulations, Penny, and all the best.
Thank you.
So, thanks very much, Damon, for this. Thanks, mate.
Pleasure as always.
And Mr. McCaskill, thank you.
Take care.
Nobody's perfect.